Hi guys, welcome to our new series, Leaders in the Bible. We're going to go over the good, the bad, and the ugly. So we're going to focus on leadership during this series. And whether you guys realize it or not, you're all leaders in your own lives, right? So you've got friends that are following you, and you lead them in their lives either in big ways or in small ways. So that's why it's important for us to always be aware of how we lead others. And we want to live in a way that we grow together and lift other people up rather than try to drag them down, right? So we're not going to just talk about good leaders, though. We're also going to talk about some of the bad leaders in the Bible. So it makes sense that you want to listen to a good leader, right? You want to look at what they did and then try to emulate that. But why would you want to learn from a bad leader? See, my dad always told me when I was younger, and as early as last week, that a smart person will learn from their mistakes, but a wise person will learn from their mistakes and the mistakes that other people make. So, by looking into bad leadership, we get a guide on exactly what not to do as a leader. So, we're going to start with a success story, one of the most famous leaders in the Bible, King Solomon. So King Solomon was super famous and very beloved by the people that he led. And I'm going to just jump right into it. We're going to go to our Bibles and go to 1 Kings in the Old Testament, chapter 3, verses 4 through 17. The king, talking about Solomon, went to Gibeon to offer sacrifices. For that was the most important high place, and Solomon offered 1,000 burnt offerings on his altar. At Gibeon, the Lord appeared to Solomon during the night in a dream, and God said, "Ask for whatever you want me to give you." Solomon answered, "You have shown me great kindness, or you have shown great kindness to your servant, my father David, because he was faithful to you, and righteous and upright in heart. You have continued this great kindness to him, and you've given a son to sit in his throne this very day. Now, Lord my God, you have made your servant king in place of my father David, but I am only a little child and do not know how to carry out my duties. Your servant is here among the people you have chosen, a great people, too numerous to count or number. So give your servant a discerning heart to govern your people and to distinguish between right and wrong. For who is able to govern this great people of yours?" The Lord was pleased that Solomon had asked for this. So God said to him, "Since you have asked for this, and not for long life, or wealth for yourself, nor have asked for the death of your enemies, but for discernment and administering justice, I will do what you have asked. I will give you a wise heart and a discerning heart, so that there will never have been any like you, nor will there ever be. Moreover, I will give you what you have not asked for, both wealth and honor, so that you in your lifetime will have no equal among kings. And if you walk in obedience to me and keep my decrees and commands as David your father did, I will give you a long life." Then Solomon awoke and realized it had been a dream. He returned to Jerusalem, stood before the ark of the Lord's covenant, and sacrificed burnt offerings and fellowship offerings. Then he gave a feast for all of his court. So in this passage, God remarks that Solomon chose to ask him for wisdom. Wisdom to help his subjects, no less, instead of being selfish and asking for something that would only benefit him. So because of that, God rewarded him with all of the things he didn't ask for in addition to the thing that he did, right? So he also was wealthy and had so much respect among the people that he led because he was so wise, right? So the reason we're starting with King Solomon is because he really embodies the spirit of this series. We grow by being wise in our decisions, right? He chose wisdom because that was what was going to help the people that he was leading. So he put those people before himself. So he made the right decisions, starting with praising God and then with honoring the people that were following him. So let's go back to the very last verse in that. 1 Kings 3:15 says he returned to Jerusalem, stood before the ark of the Lord's covenant and sacrificed burnt offerings and fellowship offerings. So the first thing he did when God told him, hey, you're going to have all of the stuff you ever wanted, he goes and he praises God. He gives burnt offerings. He spends his time worshiping God. Then he gave a feast for all his court. Then he went from worshiping God, not to celebrating himself, but to celebrating the people who were following him, right? The people who were helping him become who he needed to be. Because leaders don't act alone. They have a team behind them. So, by putting God first and then serving others before we think about serving ourselves, we can begin our journeys to be great leaders. So that's what the focus of this series is going to be like King Solomon, and to be able to ask God, not for selfish things, but to ask God for things that can help us help other people, right? Because that's the whole point of leadership, is we're going to make other people better, right? A good leader doesn't look out for themselves, but it looks out for the team that they're leading. So I'm going to post some discussion questions in the comments here. And as always, we're going to have our Zoom youth group meeting this Wednesday. And if you're a new viewer who is not a part of our Zoom meetings, feel free to reach out and message on YouTube, and we will get you signed up into our chats so you can be a part of this with us. Thanks so much, and I'll see you guys Wednesday.